Guys, it's Manga time once again. I'm here to bring you my review of Bleach 666, Empty Hall of the Puppet Master. Cool chapter title, although I have no idea what the hell it means. I'm not going to lie, I don't know what that means. I kind of thought maybe Empty Hall was referencing Askin losing his heart. And the Puppet Master is obviously Urahara. Puppet Temple even. It's Puppet Temple, I think. Yeah, guys, no, I have no idea what it means. I don't know what it means, but it sounds really cool. Yeah, Bleach is out on a weird day. This is weird. But I don't know, but whatever. It's a cool title. Who cares? I don't know what it means. Anyway, subscribe to the channel, guys, if you like the videos. I'd really appreciate it. If you did subscribe, that would be great. Anyway, on to the review. It starts off with Askin collapsing to the ground. Grimmjow has, of course, ripped his freaking heart out and tossed it on the floor in a bloody mess. Now, this is interesting. There appears to be some kind of a marking on the floor, and I feel like Kubo's drawn it there on purpose. It looks like a Garganta. So, is this explaining how Grimmjow arrived? Did Urahara create a Garganta when he found Grimmjow, and then Grimmjow arrives via a second one, follows the stitches? I don't know. I mean, it would make sense for me for like Grimmjow to, drop into one Garganta and reappear behind Askin in another one, or it could just be a marking on the floor. But I don't know. It seems to me like it's there on purpose, so I'm inclined to think it's a Garganta formed from the stitches. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. But anyway, Askin is not dead just yet, which is good. And he says to Grimmjow, "Are you actually able to move now? That's remarkable. I completely underestimated you." And Grimmjow's like, "What the hell, man? I took your heart out and you're still breathing." Urahara then goes on to explain that he healed Grimmjow while he was on his way to the fight. And then Urahara basically says that when an Arankar goes into his resurrection form, his Arankar Reiatsu becomes Hollow Reiatsu, which does make sense because, when an Arankar activates their release form, they're effectively tapping into their own, their original Hollow powers. So I assume Urahara wanted to use the poisonous Reiatsu against Quincy's. I'm guessing that's why. I'm guessing maybe that's why Askin's in trouble, other than the fact that he just had his heart ripped out. But I'm not sure. But anyway, Askin's like, you were anticipating that far ahead. That's pretty crazy. Then Urahara's like, no, I wasn't. I'm always ready for everything. He's like, I thought it might prove interesting, and therefore I was prepared for that situation. We get a bit of a monologue from Urahara where he says, I'm always expecting every scenario, even 1,000 what-if scenarios, just so I'm never caught with my pants down. And he says, I'm ready for and able to act on any fathomable possibility. So that's essentially, I think, Urahara explaining his whole unknown means role from the special war potentials. Askin's basically like, that's way too extreme. Because we know that Askin's, he's quite laid back, he doesn't really give a crap, and that's very not, it's kind of his thing to do things in the moment, and, that's completely at the antithesis of Urahara's thinking. We then get a very cool, very creepy page of Urahara, like really creepy page with some awesome shading. Where he's just staring at Askin. He's like, we're talking about war. If you lose, you're dead. It's no different from what everyone else does to push yourself to the brink so that you give yourself the best odds of survival. The stitches also making it look really creepy, but they look very cool, I have to admit. So Askin's like, oh, you've got quite the frightening drive. And he says, I think at last I'm beginning to finally understand. Unfortunately, we don't get to find out what he's about to say, as I feel like it's going to be quite important to his character. We don't find it out because Grimmjow stabs him in the back again. I think he stabs him through the same hole he stabbed him before, so that's quite, nasty. But yeah, Grimmjow's like, oh, does this guy ever shut up? He was starting to bore me, And then he basically says to Urahara, our agreement was for me to see your enemy through to his death, so this completes our contract. So I assume this is the contract that Urahara referenced way back in 518, when he said to Ichigo that they made an agreement. I don't know why I'm guessing Urahara said something along the lines of, if I ever need you in a fight against one of these guys, you will help me kill them, and then that'll be that. So obviously this is the fight that Urahara needed his help with, and so Grimmjow shows up, and then now he's fulfilled his agreement. But I don't know where Grimmjow stands now, because, what, is he just going to walk off? Because he's still going to help out in the war effort, so I don't know. Maybe he's just going to go straight to Ichigo. Well, he's not, because he's in trouble in a minute. But if he wasn't in trouble, he might just go straight for Ichigo. However, then Grimmjow then collapses to the ground as he gets affected by the Deathdealing for a second time. It is quite funny that every time he shows up, apparently he gets owned by Askin. So Askin's like, there's one thing I would like to say, and he's literally face down on the floor at this point, and he's like, upon my death, the power of my gift board deluxe magnifies. So essentially, when he dies, he has a contingency plan to detonate, well, not to detonate his gift ball, but to, it's almost a kamikaze attack thingy, but it is like a contingency for if he gets in serious trouble, he will kill everyone around him. I don't really get who says the second line. What concerns me is this is something you made sure even you wouldn't get caught in. And it just got... I don't know, it just got triggered from you falling unconscious. I don't know what that means. But I'm guessing it's Askin saying he's concerned that Urahara might be prepared for it. But he then says, I'd love to say you've earned my respect, but I'm afraid all you've done here has been for naught. And he does this for his hands for some reason. And he's like, you've clearly no strength left to escape, so do let me apologise in advance. I do like the fact that Askin is going out not as a raving lunatic, as I've said before. Kubo has stayed true to his character. He then says, his line now is really cool. It's a total dig at Urahara. He's like, oh, I'm sure, Mister, I'm never caught with my pants down, will manage to figure something out. And Urahara stays quiet. Urahara does have a plan. Of course he has a plan. It's just whether the plan is enacted fast enough, which I'm sure it will be. But then Askin's like, oh, you know what, I'm going to spare you the lethal dosage spiel because, I'm just going to sound like a broken record. And as he says this, these orbs of light appear behind him, and they basically spread out into the Gift Byrike. Also, at this point, Askin's still wearing his visor, but most of his Volksendig has disappeared, which is cool. Grimmjow is like, collapsing to the ground. He's like, there's no way I'm going to let this kill me. And we basically see the Gift Byrike going absolutely mental. However, on the outside, we actually see Neliel, and she's standing there watching the fight, and she's like, oh, it really did come down to one of the 5 possibilities he mentioned. So we see that Urahara had prepped for this fight. He got both Neliel and Grimmjow, and he was like, look, this fight is going to end in one of 5 ways, and clearly one of them was Askin tries to take them all out. So basically, Grimmjow goes in, aids Urahara against Askin, while Neliel stays behind, basically as a getaway vehicle for if the shit hits the fan. So I assume that either Urahara or or Grimmjow left the hole in the Gift Byrike for her to jump through. She's like, there are 4 Reiatsus inside. This is going to turn out to be the worst return trip ever. So basically her job is to get in there, get Urahara, Grimmjow, Yoroichi, and Yushiro back out again before they die. I don't want to say this is the end for Askin, but it doesn't look good. However, it's so weird to me if Kuba doesn't give him a flashback. Very weird. And it just seems to me like it's so vague and ambiguous the way this fight ends, that I just would be so surprised. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if the next time we see this lot, it's from Askin's perspective, and he's like waking up, and he's like, "Why am I so alive?" And Urahara's like, "Oh, I saved you, because I need you," or something like that. That literally wouldn't surprise me at all. But he could very well be dead. Anyway, Nell's like, I was really looking forward to meeting up with Ichigo, but she knows she's got a job to do, and so she goes flying towards the Byrike in an attempt to get everyone out in time. However, Urahara doesn't look like he has a lot of time, as he's basically coughing up blood. His Bankai collapses around him, and, that's not a good sign. If someone's Bankai is destroyed, without the owner's consent, essentially, the owner is close to death. We've seen this before with Ichigo. That's probably the most famous example, but it's happened to I think it's happened to Hitsugaya before. Ichigo is the most famous example. When Ulquiorra punched him through the chest in their first fight, Ichigo's Bankai left him of its own accord, which means Ichigo is close to death. So Urahara is definitely close to dying here. His stitches are also reopening, which is weird because he hasn't attained any physical damage, but maybe it's just a sign of his body degrading. But anyway, he actually says, looks like this is the end of the road for me. So despite his contingency plan, he actually thinks he is going to die. Which is pretty major, because this is Urahara. And he, right here, is saying he thinks he's going to die. Now, I'm almost certain he won't die, but he thinks he's going to, so that's cool. Now, the next line is very interesting. He says, "Forgive me for leaving everything to you on your way, Kurosaki and Kuchiki." Interesting. I don't know what relevance Rukia has had so far, but clearly Urahara thinks she's got some. Maybe it's to do with the Hogyoku, I don't know. But Urahara clearly thinks that Kuchiki, Rukia, I assume it's Kuchiki, might not be, But it's unlikely to be Byakuya. So presumably Ichigo and Rukia are going to meet up again very soon, and Urahara is aware of something that they're going to do to Yahava or something like that. I don't know. I really don't know, but it's very interesting. And he says, sorry to leave everything to you, so I assume he was going to help them with it, whatever it was. We then get the chapter title, The Hall of the Puppet Temple. Very cool chapter page as well. Very cool chapter page. Bleach 666. And Urahara's face is just like bleeding. His face is bleeding. It's all coming out of his mouth. His stitches are opening on his mouth, on his cheek. Yeah, he's not in a good place right now. He collapses to the ground, literally in a puddle of blood, and that is the last scene we get. So it's a very ambiguous end. Askin is basically lying on the floor, and he's activated his gift ball, going mental ability, and everyone is suffering big time from it. One can assume Askin's time is very limited, as is everyone else's. So I'm super interested to see where Kubo takes it from there. It's very annoying that Urahara had such a short fight. Urahara's fight was, 2 chapters long? His Bankai was in it for 1 chapter. That is a bit of a shame. That kind of smacks of a little bit of rushing going on there. Which I don't really see why Kubo would do, especially since we've been waiting so long for Urahara's Bankai, but clearly it felt unnecessary. So this is why I just don't think that scene is necessarily done with. We're going to see Urahara and his crack squad of people again at some point, and I think Askin will be a part of it. If he's not disappointed that that's the end of the character, that seems a bit weird to me, that he doesn't get proper closure. And it'd just be so weird to keep him alive and keep him dead and Lil Barrow still alive, but we went through that last week, so let's just see what Kubo does. Anyway, we skip over to Gerard's fight, and this is so much like the Yami fight. It's unreal. It's basically the Yami fight. Hitsugaya is like, oh, well, he's one tough bastard. And the Miracle, oh God, I lose my voice. The Miracle is like, did you think such ice acrobatics would be enough to stop me? And he tries to grab Hitsugaya, but he gets blocked by, I assume is Byakuya's Bankai. It looks like it's too much for his Shikai. I mean, I know he said his Shikai got better, but it looks to be too much. Anyway, Byakuya looks very freaking cool now, I have to admit. He's got blood running down his face, but he's lost his little turban, so his hair is flying everywhere, and his Royal Realm cloak has just become like a cape. So yeah, he looks really cool right now. And he says, Hitsugaya Taicho, even tackling a foe like this one-on-one, you cannot hope to reach that summit. You're going to need my help. And then we get a nice little we do get a funny moment, actually, where Hitsugaya tries to crack a joke. And he says, Hitsugaya's like, oh, even if I stood on your shoulders, I'd still be way off to reaching that summit, because obviously he's tiny. And it's I guess this is as much character development for Hitsugaya as we're going to get, that he can crack jokes about himself being tiny now, because he hates that fact, but it's funny. It's mostly Byakuya's reaction that's funny, and Hitsugaya's like, I'm not allowed to make jokes, come on, I'm making a height joke, it's hilarious, and Byakuya's like, oh, yeah, that's really funny, forgive my sudden outburst, and then, Hitsugaya's like, look me in the eyes when you're lying to me, and that sort of thing. They don't get long to bicker, though, because Gerard tries to grab them both. We do also see that Hitsugaya's Bankai is running out of time still. He's lost one entire flower, he's got 1.5 left, which is definitely interesting. Hitsugaya's Bankai doesn't seem to have changed. I'm pretty sure Kubo said he completed it, but it hasn't changed. Hitsugaya and Byakuya, however, are ready for Gerard, but then he gets his fucking arm cut off by Kenpachi. Again, it's the Yami fight. It's basically the Yami fight, but we might actually see it through to its completion. I tell you what would be very funny if Kubo skipped away from this fight and then never returned to it. And at the end of the arc, we see Gerard on the floor. I don't think it's going to happen somehow here. I feel like Kubo has actually paced this better than he did the end of the Aranka arc, so I do expect a proper Gerard fight, even if it is the Yami fight redux. Kenpachi shows up. Looks cool, I'm not going to lie, he does look cool. Hopefully we see Nozarashi again. He's like, oh, captain's holding hands like this, I'll stick in my mouth a little bit. And then Hitsugaya and Byakuya are like, oh, just when things can get any worse, and that's the end of the chapter. Now, people are not going to be happy. I just know people aren't going to be happy about Hitsugaya, Byakuya, and Kenpachi, literally the 3 captains that we see the most taking on Gerard, when it should be reserved for lesser seen characters like the Vizards, like Shinji. Now, I still think there's a chance that Shinji might get back up into this fight, because if he doesn't, then what the fuck is he going to do? Seriously, when is Kubo ever going to use Shinji, if not now? This fight's going to be a power fest. It's going to be a slugfest. It's not going to be as nuanced as the last fight, I don't think. It's just literally going to be a chance for Kubo to go Bankai, Bankai, Bankai. Literally, if everyone does get back up, we'll get a Love Bankai. We'll get a Shinji Bankai. Byakuya is already in Bankai, I think, so is Hitsugaya. So, Renji might Bankai again. Maybe Rukia, not sure. Rukia clearly has somewhere to be, according to Urahara. But, decent chapter. The change of pace is okay. I would have liked Urahara's fight with Askin to definitely go on a bit longer, but the ambiguous ending gives me some kind of hope that we might get more resolution for that scenario down the line. Kenpachi showing up is weird to me because we saw him only like 20 chapters ago and he was recuperating from some very serious injuries, so Miuri's little tub things must be like incredibly powerful because Kenpachi's back on his feet and perfectly fucking fine. So does that mean Miuri's not far behind? It seems likely. It seems likely that Miuri would be close behind, so we have basically just Captain Warfare against Gerard Valkyrie. One would assume that if Gerard's power has been explained to us correctly, that him losing his arm will mean that he's about to get even bigger. But we will see how that fight goes. I'm not overly interested in it, but I will happily embrace it for the next however long we have to sit through it. I just hope we see some interesting fighting, like partnerships and team-ups and matchups and stuff like that. Like when the three Vizards jumped at Gerard, that was really cool. So I hope we see something similar. But yeah, I was all over the Askin and Urahara part. I thought that was very cool. Very funny that Grimmjow got owned again straight away. Sorry, Grimmjow fans, but it was funny. And yeah, I'm guessing Nelio is just going to get them all out of there, and then we'll see what happens after that. But it was a good chapter. I'm probably going to drop a 4 on it, 4 out of 5. I think the final bit with Gerard is a bit formulaic. Like, this just feels like Yami again. But hopefully Kubo's got something up his sleeve for us later on. Byakuya looks like a boss. I did like the interaction between himself and Hitsugaya as well. So yeah, good chapter overall. I thought the end of Urahara's fight was cool, if it was a bit too rushed. But yeah, 4 out of 5, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this week's chapter. Did you like it? Do you like the ending to Urahara and Askin's fight? Would you like to see more of his Bankai? Because I know I certainly would have done. It just seems so weird for me to Kubo to just Urahara's Bankai. There it is. You get it for one chapter, and then the fight's already over because Grimmjow randomly shows up. So yeah, that is a bit weird to me. I feel like that scene has more left to do. But anyway, yeah. Let me know how you feel about Kenpachi showing up to fight Gerard. What do you think that's going to happen with that fight? But yeah, let me know in the comments below, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe. But until next time, see you later.